Welcome to this edition of On the Scene. I'm your host, Tim Kelly. Today we're talking about Historic Garden Week in Virginia, and we're going to focus in on a very special event taking place right here in the city of Suffolk that's part of Garden Week. Stay tuned. Welcome back to On the Scene. We're joined now by Sandra Council, who's representing the Nansemond River Garden Club, to talk about a very special week actually in the state of Virginia, but we have a very special event here in the city of Suffolk. So Sandra, thanks for being with us today.
Well, thanks for having me, because we want to share all the things that our garden clubs across the state do for our state, which most people are not even aware of.
That's right. And that's the thing. It is a statewide event. So while we're going to really focus on the event here, as we noted, in Suffolk, there are a lot of other great events going on. Again, it's going to be, April 21st to the 28th. Virginia Garden Week, Historic Garden Week, again, the 85th one. And again, we have some graphics that'll show some of the information there. But so it's the 21st to the 28th, and Suffolk is actually kind of helping lead things off on the 21st, a Saturday. And let's talk about where it's going to be taking place and some of the basics for people who have not participated in a Historic Garden Week tour before. Again, ours is on Saturday, April the 21st, focused on really the village of Eclipse, correct?
Right. We're going to
So talk about that and the times and really what's all involved here.
Okay. Well, we're lucky because we get to start it off.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing.
Indeed.
And it's mainly going to be in the community of Eclipse. And we're going to have houses, we're going to feature gardens. People that are from here know that the waterways in our area have been very important to our development.
Yes.
And Eclipse sits right there where you can see the Nansemond River, you can see all of the little creeks that are around here, and you can look right across the water and see Hampton and Newport News. It's just phenomenal. Of course, originally all of this was owned by the Indians, and we came in and sort of, like we did everywhere, took control. The British took control. But anyway, I just think it's going to be a wonderful tour because we're going to not only just have houses, but gardens. We're going to have the Nansemond Indian tribe available to speak to you.
Very good.
A local author from the area. You can go to Johnson's Seafood and Sons and see them shuck oysters. And it's very inclusive because you're going to start right there at Ebenezer Church.
Right. That's sort of the headquarters for everything.
Right, for everything. So it's going to be a great, easy tour. Sometimes, you know, our tour is spread over a whole county.
Yes.
And people go, this is too much driving. But I think this year is going to be an easy tour because we have it really sort of self-contained.
And you talked about the homes and the gardens, but it sounds like it's not just a lot of stuff, pardon the expression, to look at, but it's also a good opportunity to learn a lot.
Yes.
Because you talked about and I'm sure we'll get into this because every location has its own little uniqueness to it, but you have guest speakers, you have a lot of history that can be learned. You talked about it off the top because, again, when everything was founded, when this country came to be, everything was involved, like the waterways to transport people, materials, logistics to get everything together. It all kind of stems from the waterways and everybody branched out. So this is sort of like a starting point, if you will, for development in our area. So again, it offers a very unique opportunity to look at that. And I believe there are 6 different locations that will be dotting the Suffolk tour.
Right.
And if you want to kind of go through those to talk about really the wealth of information and the things, like I said, they're going to be available at each spot. A little bit different, but again, a lot to learn and a lot to see.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to start with, when you come, you should go to Ebenezer Church. And that, if you don't have a ticket already, you can get your ticket there. And it's 30 days in advance. And it's 35 days of the tour. And some of you are saying, well, like, where can I get my ticket in advance? And you can get them at A. Dotson's, the Suffolk Visitor Center, Alphabet Soup, 18th Century Merchant, Bowman's Garden Center, the Peanut Patch, and Lake Prince Retirement Center. So we have lots of locations to make it convenient for you able to buy your ticket.
And again, $30 in advance, $35 day up.
Of the tour. And this is what your ticket's going to look like.
Very good.
And also, we're going to be serving lunch at Ebenezer Church that day. The luncheon is $15, and you need to call ahead and make reservations if you want to buy lunch in advance for that.
Okay.
let's see, we're going to be basically in Eclipse. The properties are going to be, you're going to go to Steeple Drive, and the owners to that building are Steve and Myra Young. And it's the older house on our tour.
Okay.
And the house was built by Captain Leprin, which is a very unusual name,
It is.
Johnson. But everybody called him Captain Lips. Now, I don't know the background to that.
Maybe we'll learn on the tour.
But we'll probably learn on the tour why he was called Captain Lips. And where his property sits, he had opened a marine railroad, which went down to the water to take things back and forth,
Right.
which I found very interesting.
Sure.
And he also brought electricity to Eclipse.
Hey, he's the one. Okay.
So, and that is going to be a two-story house, which at some point in this you will,
We're going to be
gonna
showing
show
the picture.
you
We
the
probably have it on
picture.
the screen right now. You're right.
Right. Okay. And then the next building is 2000 Bleakhorn Road. And mainly you're going to see the entrance to the Bleakhorn Creek. The cottage there was built by the Keelan family. The person that built that house was a person who was in charge of making dead rise workboats that the oystermen used. So supposedly the woodwork in that house is supposed to be phenomenal, and because the person who did it was really involved in the waterways
Sure.
in a lot of ways. And the owner to that house are Dick and Carolyn Berry.
Okay.
You will go to a garden on Wignell Street, and this is where the James and the Nansemond rivers come together. And from that location, you'll be able to see all of Hampton Roads.
Right.
This part of the waterways was very busy because a lot of oystermen worked from this point and a lot of fishermen worked from this point. And they could also have access to the Chuckatuck Creek from putting their boats in there.
Right.
This garden was designed by Ann Stokes, and it is maintained by Bill Pinkham, who is the local horticulturist. A lot of people go to him
Right.
for lots of answers.
Sure.
And this land also belongs to Dick and Carolyn Berry.
Okay.
We have 9338 River Shore Drive, and that's only a block from the James and Nansemond rivers. And this piece of property originally belonged to the Nansemond Indians. And on this tour, the Nansemond Indians are going to have a presence in one of the buildings.
Very good.
And they will be there from 10 to 4, and they can tell you all about their history. And some of you are aware that they have been given land,
Right.
and they want to reconstruct a village from their past, which I have always been fascinated by Indians. I spend a lot of my time still looking for Indian artifacts.
Very nice.
I grew up with my family doing that. So it's, you know, the things that you impart to your children stay in their bloods forever.
Sure.
And I'm going to add here, since we're talking about Garden Week, I just read a thing for all of you grandparents that the best thing you can give your grandchildren is to take them out and take them on walks of nature and just teach them about their environment. Because if you love something, you're going to take care of it.
That's right.
That's the philosophy I was reared with.
Great correlation there.
And the owner to this are Bill and Joyce Beagle. At 1504 White Dogwood Trail, you will have Johnson and Sons Seafood. And they're going to share some of the early fishing techniques, and they're going to share soft-shell crabs. I am under the impression they do soft-shell
Right.
crabs there. And so you will see how you get those delicious soft-shell crabs we eat in our area. And they're also going to be shucking oysters. And I'm under the impression, I could be wrong,
Right.
that you can eat some some oysters that day as they
Very
are
good.
shucking them. So I think that will also be a treat.
Indeed.
Okay, then the one that's sort of afar is going to be 24389 Mooring Drive in Carrollton.
Okay.
And that's going to be the property of the Pinkhams.
Okay.
So, you know, they have many little gardens on their property, and they're going to share their formal, informal rock gardens, woodland gardens with the public on that day. There is a shuttle from Ebenezer Church to all of the properties.
Okay.
Don't laugh, but I guess the school teacher in me has to say, no smoking, soft sole shoes, no cameras, and I know that upsets a lot of people, but homeowners, you have to give them some privacy.
Sure.
And in today's world,
Yeah.
you know, if you take a picture, it can be in China by tonight. So, anyway.
And they're kind, like you said, they're kind enough to open their homes and their property to let people come and kind of see what they have, and you just want to respect that privacy to a certain degree, correct?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yep. And also, this one I'm sort of shocked at, but we can have strollers on the tour.
Okay.
That's something that the homeowners don't want.
I understand. Okay.
So I want to remind you that the headquarters is at Ebenezer Church. So if you have any questions, you can go there that day and answer them, and most of the stuff will come from that.
Right.
Do you have any questions you want to ask me before I go to the history of
Yes. The day of, again, we're talking about Saturday, April the 21st, correct? Right. What are the time frames? What does everything start?
10 to 5.
10 to 5. So the tours will be going on during that period of time. And you mentioned there will be a shuttle to run everybody between.
Right.
Now, but you would not suggest people to use their own vehicles, because I mean, sure, parking is going to probably be an issue. It's just better to use the shuttle, right?
I would say use the shuttle, or a lot of it you can probably, I mean, we're talking about Eclipse. For
True.
people like me,
Yes.
I would probably just walk it.
Yeah.
But yes, because if you're familiar with Eclipse, we can't have a lot of cars on those little streets. It'll be better.
Yeah.
You will do us all a favor if you go
Yeah.
to Ebenezer and take the shuttle.
I mean, it helps, I guess, with the flow of people and traffic and everything. And again, Ebenezer is also where the lunch is going to be held,
Right.
if you choose to partake in that. And again, that's optional, right?
Right, and you need to call there and sign up.
Right.
Because I'm sure we're going to have some extra lunches, but if that's
You never
your
know.
only source of food that day, I might make a
Right.
point of calling
Now,
up in
is it
advance.
where, with the tour, excuse me, so you have multiple locations, you know, if you start, can you go to the same spot twice, or is it one visit per place? How does that work?
You
with the
can go
ticket?
twice. As long as
could.
you have your
The
ticket,
Okay,
you
that's
can
all
go.
need.
You can go in.
Didn't know how that was kind of structured with that, but that's good to know.
Yes.
Now, you talked about, again, the statewide, again, it's Historic Garden Week, the 21st to the 28th of
Right.
April. The fact that certainly there are other events going on statewide with other garden clubs and things like that. But where do the proceeds from this go? Because, again, so many events going on, obviously some money being raised, but it really goes back into preserving and keeping everything kind of in different locales, right?
Yes. Okay. What I find wonderful or amazing is we have been in operation since 1920.
Wow.
And every single penny goes back to the 48 properties that we are in charge of or involved in.
Okay.
We're all volunteers, no one's paid.
Right.
All the arrangements are made by the volunteers. We pay for our own arrangements. Everyone that will meet and greet you that day will be somebody that is one of the garden clubs. Now, we work with 2 other garden clubs.
Right.
It's the Franklin Garden Club, the Elizabeth River Garden Club, and the Nansemond River Garden Club are the 3 clubs that are responsible for the tour that you're going to see on the 21st.
Got it.
The 48 properties that we help maintain, whether it's the building or the gardens, are amazing. And you are familiar, I dare say anyone looking at this program has not been to one of our properties that we help maintain. Because it's like Monticello, the Executive Mansion, Montpelier, Burton Parish Church, the Kent Valentine House, Kenmore. I mean, St. Luke's. Any place that is of historic value and in our history, we, for the most part, involved in saving their gardens.
Right.
As people that are very involved in gardens know, we are devastated by what's happened to the boxwoods across our state. Mm-hmm. And as you know, once it gets in your little garden, so far we've come up with nothing
Right.
to save them. So we help maintain things, and obviously we can use more money now than we could, let's say, 10 years ago, because most of our boxwoods at a lot of these beautiful gardens
Right.
have been destroyed by this virus or bug that they have.
Gotcha. Well, now, if someone hasn't been on one of these tours before, what would you suggest to them to kind of go into it thinking you're going to experience and what you're going to do, and just to kind of, I guess, give them the old sales pitch and get them to come on out and participate? What would you say?
Okay, what I personally love is the flower arrangements, because they're all, I being the exception, they're all done by the most amazing arrangers, and we try to use what we can locally. Now, the weather's been sort of weird this year, and that snow that we had set us back.
Right.
But when you go into these houses or the gardens, obviously the flowers and gardens are the showcase, because that's what we're in the business for. But we also select buildings that we think showcase the setting, and the arrangements, for the most part, we try to have them so they enhance the building or the room that they're in.
Sure.
So you're looking at, I think, interesting buildings in a beautiful setting, because I have the water in my soul, and the flower arrangements are there to enhance the buildings you're seeing.
Now, how long does something like this take to put together, to prepare? I mean, it's a one-day event. You think, well, but it takes a heck of a lot of time and effort. You mentioned it's 3 different garden clubs in our area that are joining together to put on this one event here in Suffolk, and I'm sure it's likewise at other places around the state. But how much time and effort really goes in? You talk about the volunteers that are really the key behind it, making this happen.
Okay, I would say starting next Monday, we will, Monday after the tour, we'll be thinking about where's our next tour going to be.
Exactly.
Because the main thing is getting people to open their houses. And because of today's world, we have to encourage people now more than I think we did in the past to share their house for various reasons. So we have to start right away getting homes. And then all 3 clubs have to correlate who's going to be in charge of getting the tickets printed. We have to raise, on the back of your ticket you will see, we have to get people to pay for the tickets, because like I said, every penny that we make, we want it to go back to save one of these fabulous properties. So we have to start begging people for money.
Well, it sounds like it's definitely a community effort to make an event like this happen. I mean, certainly the garden clubs are the driving force there, but you need other support so that, you get the biggest bang for your buck when it comes to where the money goes after the event. So you're not eating it all up in all the preparatory costs and everything like that. And you talk about the preparation, which of course I'd asked about that, but the fact that it's not just a home here, a home there. You have to kind of get them in an area and kind of come up with a game plan and sort of a theme and how this is going to fit and make that work. And like you said, the work for next year starts the day after this year's finished. It's probably already underway right now. And getting the people that want to open their homes and their gardens and be a very gracious host or hostess to have people come out to do that. So again, Saturday, April the 21st, Historic Garden Week kicks off that day in the state of Virginia, but in Suffolk, our event again is on Saturday, April 21st from 10 till 5. Is that correct?
Yes, like some of the speakers, like the Indians and the local author, probably will be 10 to 4. But for the homes themselves,
the venues will be 10 to 5.
Open till 10 to 5.
Very good. Now, how early, well, if everything starts around 10, when should people kind of start mustering up over there at Ebenezer to kind of get ready for the day ahead? As far as if you're coming, do you come right at 10? I know it's pretty widespread. 10. Okay. I figured y'all are going to be there early enough.
We're going to be there, trust me.
Ready to go.
Right. Because it's just like, not only, it's just amazing how many flowers alone are involved in this project, and how many rooms that you have to put something that has a flower in it. Then you have to have hostesses. It takes, I love this expression, a whole village, and we are in the village of Eclipse.
It works out perfectly.
So yes, it works out. So, and it's just the food. There are just so many details that are behind the scene to make everything work, and hopefully we won't have rain.
So I was going to ask you about that. Now, can you guarantee a spring-like day, given the weather we've had? I'm sure we can't guarantee anything these days. But is it rain or shine? Is it rain or shine?
Oh yes, it's rain or shine.
Okay.
Yes. So and Unfortunately, we cannot control the weather.
Well, April showers, so I know we're in the heart of April, but
Right.
for all we know, we'll have April snow showers the way things
Things are going here.
That's
It's
right.
crazy.
So, well, Sandra, I appreciate you coming out today to talk about this great event that's coming up. We're sure it's going to be a success. And again, the tickets are available ahead of time. We noted it. We'll put that board back up one more time that has the list of the places that are available ahead of time. $30 in advance, $35 day of, and the only place day of, correct me if I'm wrong, that you could buy tickets is going to be at Ebenezer, the church there.
Right.
So you will not go to each spot to buy the tickets, just that one headquarters
One day
location.
is supposed to be at Ebenezer, but in advance you can go to the other
Right.
people in the community
Yes.
that are helping support us and
Very
selling
good.
tickets in advance. I mean, just the logistics of selling tickets in advance.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing how much goes into making this one day
Right.
perfect and a big fundraiser to save the beautiful properties that Virginia particularly, I think well, in our state, we do have a lot of amazing gardens and buildings that we want to continue to be able to share and enjoy in our communities and our state.
Well, we want to preserve history and preserve what Virginia has become known for in that capacity with all the beautiful gardens. And I know where we're positioned sort of on the East Coast, I mean, we're kind of in a very unique spot.
Right.
And so we get a little bit of everything kind of happening here as far as climate-wise and over the course of the year. And I think focusing on that and upkeeping the properties that you talked about, that the garden clubs around the state work so hard to do year-round, I think it really pays off. And this is a way where the community can kind of see some of the private properties, but know that their money's also going to a very good cause in that respect. So.
Yes, and I just want to add one little thing I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
thought about.
Yes, ma'am.
Our garden club right here in Suffolk helps maintain Cedar Hill. We have gardens in Cedar Hill. So just the 3 little spots that we maintain in Cedar Hill involve a lot of time, a lot of people pulling weeds.
Yes.
So people don't really realize how much, unless you are out pulling weeds in 30-degree weather,
Right,
how
right.
much goes into keeping these places beautiful and attractive and a part of our history.
When someone has to do the work, and then we appreciate the fact that the garden clubs are taking the time to do that. And you know, they're not a bunch of little, you know, gremlins running around there taking care of that. It's people that are out there, as you said, braving the elements and doing the literally down in the dirt work in that respect, as well as planning great events like this that make it all come together. But as you talked about it takes a village. And in this case, we're showcasing the village of Eclipse again as part of the tour. It's a good hook right there, so we appreciate that. But Sandra, again, thanks for your time today.
And thank you so much for having me. And I hope everyone comes out and has a beautiful day. And I'm telling you, I think you really will enjoy our village in Eclipse.
Looking forward to it. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Yes, that would do it for this edition of On the Scene. I'm your host, Tim Kelly. We'll see you next time.